Mr. President. I'm very pleased to be here on the floor of the U.S. Senate with my colleagues, Senator from North Dakota, who just talked a lot about some of the details, but also some of the results of the tax reform that we're talking about. Also was very inspired to hear Senator Scott from South Carolina talk about how he believes, and I believe, that tax reform for someone like his mother, who was a nursing assistant raising 2 boys as a single mom, will have great impact to her. So we all have a story to tell. And that's why I think this tax reform bill that we're talking about will be, can be, and should be very impactful to everybody across this great land. My colleagues and I have talked a lot about this over the last several weeks because it really presents just an incredible opportunity for us to make a difference in every American family, every American business, and individuals from all walks of life. Just last week, when I was home in West Virginia, I had a small business roundtable. I hosted about 7 or 8 owners of small businesses, and we sat down to just talk about tax reform and what kind of impacts this would have on them, their businesses, and the people that they employ. And it didn't take long because the first question I asked right out the bat is, what does tax reform mean to you? Well, they didn't say tax breaks for the wealthy, because that's not what they believe, and that's not what I believe. We had a woman who had a family-owned business who employed 6 people in a kind of highly technical small manufacturer. She said what tax relief means to her and her small business is that after she trains people, it takes 1.5 years to train, a lot of them will leave and go to a bigger company because they're searching for a higher wage. She said, what I'm going to be able to do is reward the good workers in my business and raise their wages so they'll stay. I almost closed my book and left. I said, well, do I need to hear anything more? Because this is what the impacts, I think, tax reform will have on small businesses. Had another person there who employs 36 people in a communications company. What does tax reform mean to you? She said, well, I have 2 locations. I have 36 people evenly split between the 2 locations. But in communications, you really have to modernize your IT, for graphics and to be able to do the best communications and advertising that you can do. That's expensive. It's really expensive. She said, what tax reform means to me is I'm going to be able to modernize my infrastructure, my IT, my software, and still keep the 36 people that work for me. And she said, I'm looking next year to hire another 6. And this gives me the certainty to be able to do that. Well, I almost closed my book up and left then, because what does that mean? That's more investments. You know what? Somebody's selling that software. Somebody's creating that software, hopefully in this country. And somebody is going to be the beneficiary of that increased business, that increased investment in a small business. So I heard about raising wages. I heard about what economic growth will do to a small business in a small state. I heard Senator Hoeven say 96% of business in North Dakota is small business. Well, we're one down. 95% of business in West Virginia is small business. And so these efforts will be about transforming our economy. For too long, we've been living with a stagnant economy, with too few opportunities, and with the feeling that people feel like they just really can't get ahead. Rural America has really felt this, and many of the communities in my state and around the country have felt these effects of this stagnation, of this lack of confidence, of this feeling that you can't get ahead. You're not ready to spend the money. Number one, you don't have it because you're paying too high taxes. Number 2, you don't want to spend it because you don't have the confidence that the economy is going to move. And that's what this is about today. So we have a chance to transform this, create opportunities, reform our tax code, and deliver pro-growth legislative solutions. We haven't done this for decades. And it's way past time to make a real difference, to make a system that's more transparent, a system that is simple. You know, that's something I don't think we talk about enough, is tax simplification. How welcome that will be to probably everybody seated in the gallery here today and millions across the country when they look at the time and effort and money they spend to prepare a complicated tax code when tax simplification would free them from a lot of that burden. But most of all, we want a system that is fair, the kind of system that rewards hard-working families and puts more money in the pockets of those who earn it. You think, what would you do with it? Well, I think everybody could come up with something that they could do. Whether they might want to save for retirement, they might want to go on vacation, they might need to do repairs to their home, they might just want to buy a new pair of shoes for their child. There's all kinds of ways, a new car, all kinds of ways that people are holding back because they don't have the confidence. If they have that money in their pocket and the confidence is going to be there in the future, they're going to invest. They're going to invest in their lives, their families, their homes, their businesses. But before we can move forward, we must pass this budget. This budget resolution before us today reins in federal spendings and provides new prospects for our businesses and our families. It paves the way for a tax code overhaul and creates a pathway to greater prosperity. I heard the senator from Texas saying, you know, we'd love to have a bipartisan tax reform measure in front of us. We should have all of us seeing, when we see what the results of this are going to be, we should be able to join together. But we need this budget resolution to make sure that what we've talked about for more than several months and a year is going to come to fruition. A vote for this budget is a vote to provide tax relief for hard-working, middle-income Americans. It's a vote to lower taxes on families with children. And it's a vote to incentivize companies to invest domestically and create jobs in this country. That's what they tell us they want to do. I believe that they know an investment in this country with their capital and their people is a much more solid investment for their company's future than any investment outside of this country. It's very hard to think that any of my Senate colleagues, Republican or Democrat, would not want to support these goals. So passing this resolution creates a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reform our tax code in a way that will move our economy forward. Our country will move forward. So I urge my colleagues to vote for the budget to begin the process of delivering tax reform that will help so many people in my state of West Virginia, but across this country. We cannot let this opportunity slip by. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that it doesn't. Thank you.